Hey guys, I'm Leslie, and today's topic is a very serious one. This is September 11th, 2018, 17 years after the 2001 attacks in New York City and Washington, D.C. On such a serious day, and I know a few websites might be doing this as well, but this is going to be mine. I want to know where you were, if you existed, 17 years ago on September 11th, 2001. In my case, I was a kid. I think I was in middle school or junior high, one of those. I was sent to my school's office for something, I don't remember what. I went to the desk. There were 2 or 3 people behind it watching a small TV, and I remember looking at it. I asked, "What's going on?" And the lady who was behind the desk had her hand like this, and she said, "There's been an attack in New York," or she said something like that. I don't remember if I got or found out what I needed to when I went there, but I was a kid, and because I was a kid, I didn't comprehend or understand, much less, I'm ashamed to say, care about what was going on the television. So I went back to my class, or I remember saying something like, "Oh, there's been some attack and it's on TV," and a few minutes later, the teacher turned on the television and there were the attacks again. The World Trade Center, one of them, and there was smoke coming from it. I don't remember much of the rest of the day, but I remember going home and my mom was there watching the news. And I remember a couple of people in the days following saying, "This is going to be remembered for the next 10 years. Well, it definitely was, and it's been 17 years. And of course, it wasn't until a few years ago, when I got older, that I actually stopped and took the time to realize and comprehend what had happened that day. So instead of making this video incredibly complicated and treating it kind of like a school report, I have chosen instead to kind of just simplify it and name a few things that I didn't know before. The first plane crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center around 8:45 a.m. Tuesday morning. The second plane crashed into the South Tower almost 20 minutes later, around 9 a.m. And about an hour after that, one tower fell and then the other, and the World Trade Centers were just gone. Elsewhere in Washington, D.C., a plane crashed into the west side of the Pentagon, killing almost 200 people, including military personnel, civilians, and of course all the people on board, as well as the hijackers. Now a fourth plane, however, United Airlines Flight 93, which has some movies made about it, that one was hijacked, and some very brave individuals chose to fight back. And they crashed the plane into a field at about 500 miles per hour, somewhere in rural Pennsylvania, around 10:10 a.m. killing all 44 people on board, including the staff and the passengers, as well as the hijackers. See, that last one is especially sad because people were on their phones saying goodbye to their families that they knew they'd never see again, because they had to stop this evil from happening. Even though there's still no telling where the fourth plane was headed. Speculation, according to History.com, says that it might have been headed for the White House or some monument or something like that, or even a nuclear power plant or something. But those people chose to fight back and crash the plane even though they knew it would mean in their lives. Now that I'm older, I can actually understand and respect that, because it's very real. Some people are on the phone saying goodbye to their loved ones, and the famous "Let's roll" line was created. Another man said goodbye to his wife and that he loved her over the phone. And one flight attendant said that everyone was heading for first class, and she said goodbye to her husband. It's real things that really affect people, not things in movies. One thing I found especially scary was footage of people jumping from the World Trade Centers before they collapsed. That is just terrifying. Of course, I didn't see any of this on TV. I didn't find out about it until years later. And there were also people waving sheets or something in the air, seen on camera, just to have the feeling that you were going to die. Because some group called Al-Qaeda wanted to strike at the heart of America and create terror. I might get some crap for this video, but I don't care. I've never made one like this before. And another incredibly real vision, in addition to the hundreds of thousands of photos of people covered in dust and debris and ashes that had come from the buildings. One that I will never get out of my head is the falling man. I don't think anybody even knows who he was. He had on this long white shirt and black pants, and he's, of course, falling head first toward the ground. I'll include a link to the page or video about the falling man. I found the article yesterday. And over the next several years, I read this. Many people suffered and died from cancer and respiratory problems. And some people still have health problems today because of 9/11. God, I can't imagine that. Being in one of those planes and being alive one second and being dead the next. Going to meet Jesus. But those hijackers, on the other hand, they boarded 4 planes. There were 19 of them in all. And they all did it in the name of some faith, some idea, or all for Osama bin Laden. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't imagine that. I can imagine giving your life for Jesus because he's the best thing ever. But to kill hundreds of thousands of people for what? I don't understand. But I also want to acknowledge and very much applaud the bravery and sacrifice of all the firefighters and police officers who were killed that day. I didn't know any of them, but imagine everyone else is running away and they're running toward the buildings. Many of them probably knew they'd never see their families again. Acknowledging their bravery, I do want to mention a few films that took place within the last 17 years that had to do with the September 11th attacks. I know there are several docudramas and documentaries about 9/11, but these particular ones came to me off the top of my head when I was coming up with this video. So first there is United 93, which is about the plane that I mentioned a few minutes ago where passengers retook the plane and they crashed it in Pennsylvania to stop the hijackers. Flight 93 is another film which is about the same incident, but I don't remember if it's United 93 or Flight 93 that has real-time images and footage in it, making it even more terrifying. Another one is more star-infused. It has Nicolas Cage in it, and it's called World Trade Center. It's about a few firefighters who were actually trapped under the rubble, and they were in the World Trade Centers, one of them, when it collapsed. Another one. This one is based on a book, and it doesn't deal directly with the attacks. It has to do with a young boy trying to find something that his father, played by Tom Hanks, left behind. And his father was someone who was in the World Trade Center when it collapsed. There is a movie that actually made me cry at the end. It's called Remember Me. It features Pierce Brosnan, Emily DeRivine, and Robert Pattinson. You'll remember him from the Twilight films as Edward. I just watched that movie. It's really good. The ending has a really sad twist, of course, involving September 11th. And lastly, there is an episode of Bones in Season 8, Episode 6, called The Patriot in the Purgatory. Dr. Brennan charges the interns with identifying or trying to identify bones that are archived and have basically just been forgotten or labeled as unidentifiable. And Dr. Vaziri, he discovers something about the bones that he's examining, that they are very cracked and have to do with injuries that the person sustained about 10 years prior, which was on, they determined, September 11th. Turns out that man was a former soldier and he was homeless for a long time. And then he died from injuries sustained after he saved the lives of at least 3 people who were injured in the Pentagon attack. And nobody knew who he was just because he was homeless. It's a really, really good episode. But coming back to my original point, yes, I want to know, where were you guys on September 11th, 2001? I was in school. Funny, exactly 17 years ago it also took place on a Tuesday, which is today. Let me know down in the comments where you were, or if you knew someone who was there or something like that. Everybody stay safe out there. God bless. I'm Leslie, and I'll see you guys in the next video.